Okay, so welcome, Lionel. We are so excited to have you today. I'm really looking forward to this session, actually, because Lionel Owusu is here to talk to you guys about how to find a career that you love, one that you get paid for. I think everyone's really interested in this topic. So, Lionel, why don't you start by introducing who you are?
Thanks, May. As May said, my name's Lionel. I am an organizational psychologist, and what that means is I help people, teams, organizations work out how to get the best out of themselves. So I'm super excited to be talking to you about this topic. This is a topic really dear to my heart. I wish someone had spoken to me about careers when I was about your age, which wasn't too long ago, and equally wasn't too far ago either. When you hear the word career, you may think of it being one big decision, choosing what you do forever. But really, your career is a journey. It changes, it grows, it has unexpected turns, and that's what makes it really, really exciting. It isn't a single decision, it's a bunch of decisions, and it's more than just a job. So what you'll see from this image in front of you are two images, a picture to the left and a picture to the right. And I can probably imagine at your age, when you think about your career, you're either really clear about what your career could look like, the type of job and occupation you want. So blue skies, greenery ahead. But for some of you, equally, it could look quite difficult and challenging, and you may be slightly unsure about what lies ahead. So I'm hoping that this talk gives you some indications of what to look out for, what to think about, and actually how to frame your thinking when thinking about what you want to do during the course of your time in this world. So, with that said, let's talk about specifically what I'm going to focus on. So, by the end of this talk, hopefully you'll understand better what a career actually means, and we'll run through some examples. We'll also see how career paths can evolve. A career isn't static, it's dynamic, it changes all around you. And you probably have examples of that in your own household with your parents, uncles, aunties, even teachers. And then lastly, I want to leave you with one idea as a next step. How do we make this a reality? How do you take what I'm going to talk to you about and make it really tangible, really real for you and your situation? So first off, let's talk about what is a career? A career isn't a single job. It's everything you learn and do. It might take, as I said, detours, switch lanes, change of destination, and that's all really, really normal. It isn't a job, and it's certainly not a straight line. And I think the most interesting and remarkable thing about careers is they're shaped by unexpected turns. Many of the people that I coach, their career that they wanted when they were really young versus the career that they've ended up doing 5, 10, 15, 20 years later is often very, very different because you have to go on a journey of self-discovery, of understanding and learning your personal passions and being bold and reinventing yourself. And these journeys show that growth isn't always upwards. It's outwards, it's inwards, and sometimes it's even sideways, which is really annoying. But sometimes those sideways moves when you're doing a job or a couple of jobs is what really defines you. And in front of you are some examples of maybe areas that you're really passionate about or you're actually really good at doing and how that can transfer and transition into an occupation. So, for example, if you're really practical and you're good with your hands, maybe being a mechanic would be really interesting. You could get bored of being a mechanic, but maybe you're really good at talking about being a mechanic, and perhaps being a teacher would be really interesting. Equally, you could be really tech-minded and obsessed with games. And if that's a passion, you're probably thinking, how do I monetize this? How do I make money of this? You could get involved in IT development. You could get involved into AI and be an AI prompter. There are so many avenues to consider when you think of your career. And the really interesting thing about careers is you could actually do all of these things throughout the course of a 25, 30, 40, 50-year career. It is possible, and there are lots of examples. But that is, I would say, even for me, slightly overwhelming to think that I could use my creative skill set and my practicality and take advantage of spending time with people and communicating and using my emotional intelligence or even being really technical. Actually, a framework for your thinking about your careers would probably be really, really useful. And so this is probably really the crux of the presentation. How should you think about your career? Um, Finding your direction isn't about picking the perfect job. It's about noticing what drives you. And when these overlap, you start to find meaningful work. You don't need a full map. You just need to understand your next step. And a framework that really resonates with me is called the Ikigai, spelt Ikigai. And that's a Japanese concept, which basically means finding balance. And it's this whole idea that when thinking about one's career, if you think about all of the elements that are important to one's life, actually you'll come away, come home from work every day feeling satisfied, feeling like you've got money in the bank, and feeling like you're actually making an impact on the world. So these are the key four questions that often I ask all of my coaches to consider. What do you love doing? What is your drive for getting up? What are you super passionate about? What is it that gets your heart going and makes you smile? That is the stuff, that's the energy that's going to keep you going during those moments when a job is tough, because every job is tough. Every career has its ups and downs. So having a passion is what fuels that and gives you that motivation and inspiration. Um, a next really good question is, what am I good at? What is it that I know that if I put my hands to it, if I look at this, if I communicate about this thing, I normally get really good feedback. I've received really good grades, or actually I'm really good at making this product into something really meaningful for someone else. If say you were an entrepreneur. And this is naturally really, really important because what you don't want to do is turn your hand to something that perhaps you're not as good at. And if you're not as good at it, what training and development and education do you need to get there? So again, a really important question. There is little point, to be very honest with you, with doing something that you love that perhaps you're not very good at, but you don't have the passion and motivation to do better at it and to create a skill set or improve a skill set. So it's really important that if you have the passion to drive the motivation, that will help you gain consistency and discipline in actually defining skills and experience that could be really, really helpful to your long-term career. Thirdly, what problems do I care about? The world is an interesting place right now. There are problems left, right, center, and we all have an opportunity to feed into some kind of solution. And that solution can look like anything. It could be global, it could be a local community, it could be on your streets. How how would you as an individual feed into the ecosystem that we call society, the ecosystem that we call life? And that's often a really important question that people often ask themselves. Is what I'm committing myself to really important to me and important to the people around me? And last but not least, what can I get paid for? This is obviously super important. It's one's livelihood. And you know, you can't think about one of these four without the other. Thinking about what you love and perhaps not being paid for that isn't ideal. Equally, getting paid a lot of money and doing something that you're really dispassionate about isn't great as well. So, Ikigai is really about balance and thinking about all of these questions together and then drawing a map that's specific to you about your life, about your skills, about your education And the ages that you're at now is a great time to be thinking about these four questions because it enables you to look at the decisions in front of you. Perhaps you're about to choose some courses, whether it be your GCSEs, whether it be A levels, BTEC, degree, whether you're making a decision to actually leave the education system and go and find some work because you have to, because there's a need, there's a financial need, or maybe because you want to learn new skills. There is no right or wrong answer, but you have to do it with intent and make sure that when you think about each of these questions and you answer them, you're really realistic about what you can do and also what you want to do. So, what are some of the examples of perhaps people who've used this framework, the Ikigai, to guide them? Real world journey. So you'll notice hopefully some of these pictures and people in these pictures are very familiar to you. And the reason why I've chosen these people is their stories are probably an illustration, and they personify some of the values that I spoke about on the slide before. KSI, YouTuber, musician. Some of you probably noticed him all over YouTube creating gaming and comedy videos. He started as an entertainment specialist for a really niche audience that grew to a global platform. And he is, without doubt, someone who's honed into his passions, but also someone who's made a lot of money and equally is probably very good at what he does. Given his YouTube views are in the millions and millions and millions, it's no surprise that he is as successful as he is now. And then we've got Emma, who became a champion. I think it's the US Open champion at a really young age from just being a student. And now she's an ambassador with multiple brands paying her to advertise their goods and products, which she's super passionate about. So that journey of leaning into being an athlete, showing determination, showing discipline, and being paid for it, she's a great example. And then you've got Steve Jobs, which I hope you all recognize this picture, it being Steve Jobs. This man here, in essence, created the iPhone, which most of you probably have, the Mac, anything with an I in it. And so knowing that his story started from calligraphy to being a tech founder really shows that following your passion, whether the turns are left or right or straight or jagged, will lead you to something that hopefully will have an impact on the world. And Steve Jobs is an example of someone who's had an impact on the world. I don't think it was calculated. He dropped out of university. He was thrown out of a couple of companies, and he learned some expensive lessons, but he's left a legacy that we all carry around with us and are really familiar with. So I guess in essence, what I'm saying is real people rarely follow one straight path. The best career growth and change is change as you do. Even people around you have these stories. So a step here I would say is talk to people around you about careers that they're super passionate about, or maybe careers you're passionate about, because that will lead to a better understanding of what you could do, should be considering, or would consider doing. So, what am I leaving you with? What's next? Keep exploring. Use the framework that I've given to hopefully inspire you to consider new subjects, new hobbies, join a club, volunteer, talk to people about their careers. You're at a critical point in your lives where your portfolio of jobs, which is a career, could look very different if you're very intentional about it. There are numerous examples nowadays of people in their mid-20s, arguably before it was their mid-40s and mid-50s, where people were having mid-life crises where they're reflecting, am I doing what I really want to be doing? Because they didn't have the opportunity to sit back at a young age and reflect on what do they love? What could they be paid for? What are they really good at? And what problems in the world could they lean into? So if I'm going to leave you with anything, it is careers are journeys and not destinations. There we are.
Love that. Thank you so much, Lionel. Well,
You're welcome.
yeah, that was amazing. I was thinking about my own career journey there. Because
Love
yeah,
that.
I started as an accountant and now I've founded my own business, Eric. So going from that to that, it is completely a journey. And like you said, I think it's finding that balance. I love that idea of balance because I think, for example, when I was an accountant, I got paid well. I definitely got paid,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
wasn't something that I enjoy. And I think you can only do that for so long until you have that midlife
Right,
crisis. And
right,
then
exactly.
um, I think so for a young person, what you're saying is what like do they might not be finding the balance straight away? Is it,
Yeah.
trying to find things they might not
Uh,
enjoy their job straight off the
I,
bat?
I yeah, I think so. And I think is looking at a career as a journey with not necessarily a destination, but a collection of experiences.
Mm.
When I reflect on my own journey, one of my first jobs, I was 15 and I was selling double glazing windows, on a phone that was pre-recorded and it would keep ringing. Worked at Foot Locker and Marks and Spencer's, etc. I think I even manned the doors as a doorman at my local university. So there are so many different avenues that feed into your experience as a person, and help you define the kind of person you want to be. It opens up really your eyes to the kind of impact you want to have, the kind of money you want to earn. So I guess it's really about being curious, asking lots of questions, and being willing to try and
Yeah.
fail as well. Because you can only learn from failure. You can't learn from just being successful all the time.
No, that's it. So actually the goal is probably to find that balance, but you won't know what that balance is unless you try different things.
Absolutely. And that is the beauty of life. It is a roller coaster. It won't always go to plan. But as long as you're willing to try and you're being really genuine and authentic with yourself and those around you, because I recognize that there's peer pressure, there's pressure from family and friends to often pursue certain career paths. And part of one's self-identity is to understand their purpose and what they're good at and be honest about that. There's no point saying, well, look, I'm going to be a world class ballerina, but you don't practice, you've never done it before, you know nothing about it as an industry. So you're really going to lean into what you really want to do and run at it.
Mm, amazing. Well, I feel like the 20 minutes is already up, Lionel.
How is it up?
I
Ah.
know it's gone so quickly. I guess, yeah, what would be I mean, you've given so much, amazing nuggets, but what would be the one thing if someone, obviously this series is all about creative careers, and I think
Right.
creative is a difficult one because a lot of the time people don't know that might be a passion of theirs, but
Yeah.
maybe it's difficult to know do they get paid for it?
That that's
Any tips on how
yeah,
to explore that?
that's a really good point. I think creative careers are probably one of the most rewarding industries to be in because actually you're leaning into a side of physiologically your brain, but also what people would define as the more interesting side of living life, whether that be through performing arts, through music, through dance, through calligraphy, like Steve Jobs. But I think with the framework I put up, the Ikigai, you almost need to recognize you don't need to get all four of those elements from one thing.
Mm,
So if you are passionate about being a creative, there's nothing wrong with working part-time somewhere to get paid here or doing some charity work on the side to recognize your fulfillment from leaning into the world and doing what you're passionate about creatively. So nowadays, people are no longer doing a full-time job for 20 years in the same workplace, right? The world's changed. People typically are staying in workplaces between 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and even that. And even more so, people are doing who have portfolio careers where they have several jobs to gain that fulfillment and roundness. So I would say be open-minded and don't feel like you need to follow a specific path and only have one job. Lean into different elements of life to gain that fulfillment.
I love that. Squiggly careers.
That's it. Exactly. Exactly that.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Lionel. We've really appreciated having you. And what an
I've
amazing
enjoyed speaking
framework
to
for
you.
people to take away. Thanks.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.